Hello and welcome to the TCF Morning Show. It is Monday, January 4th, and this morning I am joined by Boomy at Boomy TCF and Matt Schoolfield at schools_01 on Twitter. I am Zach Lilia at ZLilia. TCF, the main page is at typical_Chicago. It's the first show of 2021. And this morning we will be talking about how the Bears lost, but still are somehow in the playoffs in the seventh spot, the last spot in the NFC. They'll be playing the Saints on Sunday. We will get into that. We have a full NFL Week 17 recap. It is the last full week of the regular season in the NFL. We have a Bulls win. Another win. I think this is three straight. No, they lost. They lost one. Sorry, but they beat the Mavericks at the UC. We'll have a college football playoff talk. It was a crazy Friday afternoon into the night, and then we have Boomys Wacky Web Story. If you want to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, just type in Typical Chicago Fans. You will find us on there. Go over to the YouTube page, subscribe to the YouTube page, Typical Chicago Fan. And then wherever you get your podcast from, if it's Apple, please subscribe, rate, and review. If it's anywhere else, just type in Typical Chicago Fans. You will find us on there. Shout out to 26shirts.com, Chicago. Type in the promo code Typical Chicago Fans at checkout for 15% off of your purchase. Again, that is Typical Chicago Fans at checkout for 15% off of your purchase at 26shirts.com, Chicago. Boys, how are we doing on this Monday morning?
Doing as well as we can, having to go back to work for the first time in 2 weeks. So getting by those. Nice long break. I can't complain at all, but you know how it is having to go back after an extended break. But that's all right. I won't complain about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Boomy on that one. It's turning the calendar over into a new year, but it kind of feels a little bit like the same as last year. Still, the same problems are still here. I'm not any richer than I was last year, so anything would be any kind of positive we'll take. And hey, we got playoff football in Chicago coming.
There we go. We have
for better or worse.
Bears playoff football. We are in the Nickelodeon game.
Yeah, yes, Nickelodeon, yes. Amazon Prime. Yeah, it's like
It's 3:30 Sunday Central Time against the Saints in New Orleans, which me and Boomy were talking. I know that sounds stupid, but I'm not like I'm more nervous. I was more nervous about today's game, honestly, than I would be for Sunday because
Rodgers kills them all the time. He always does what he did today, and it's just you can't stop it. You can't stop it when he just it's gets the ball, score, gets the ball, score, and you get 21 on you right like that. And it's just what the hell do you do? And when you don't have the kind of offense that can kind of counterpunch with that, and you kind of got to scrap. Every possession's important, man, and you can't be turning the ball over. You can't be, not if you're going to go for 4th and 1, you can't, run a quick out to a double covered wide receiver, on the shotgun when you're down 5, and driving. So it felt like the play calling reverted back to where it was early in the season. It's very questionable at times, especially on that 4th down where the Bears turned the ball over, and it's just. It was a frustrating game to watch. They were in it for most of it. I thought the defense really kept them in it for good chunks of the game. Kind of held the Devontae Adams down as much as anybody could for the season that guy's had this year. He's been probably the best receiver in the game and overall. And today he was kind of mortal, so to say. And it's one of those things. The Bears had their chances. The score wasn't an indicator, I don't think, of how close that game really was for long stretches. But at the end of the day, it's another loss to Aaron Rodgers and the pack. But sun shines on a dog's ass, as they say every now and then, and the 8-8 Bears are still alive, still going to the playoffs. So that's where I think we got to focus our attentions at.
Yeah, I'm excited for the wild card game. You never know what happens in the playoffs. But you didn't want to lose to the Packers. But at one point, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna start watching this Rams game. And luckily, the Rams held on. Kyler Murray kind of had some problems with injuries. But so
Yeah,
the
it wasn't moving
Cardinals,
real well
the
today.
Cardinals are eliminated. The Bears make it as the 7th seed, which was expanded this year. But like Big Cat has said, we do not apologize for anything. We keep it moving. And you know what? If we would have beat the Packers, then we might have accidentally had to play them again. We didn't want that.
It all worked out, man.
Yeah, I mean, if the Bears somehow find a way to beat the Saints, which I think we'll get into it later in the week more into a pregame aspect there, but I don't think it's impossible that the Bears could beat them. I think Drew Brees is not an unbeatable quarterback. It's not going to be likely, but it's a beatable team. And guess what? You get to face the Pack again the following week. Then if you do get the Bears, if you do beat the Saints, so
yeah, we hope we have some defensive players there. Roquan,
yeah,
we don't know if that's
Smith's
up in
a
the
big
air.
loss.
We don't know.
Darnell Mooney, if he's not going to,
yeah,
Darnell Mooney played outstanding today.
We didn't have Buster Screen or
Jalen Johnson was out too.
Yeah, which was you could tell was huge.
Yeah, they dropped a couple picks. Rodgers had a good game, and he was outstanding at the beginning of the first half. I think he was perfect. I think he was like 15 of 15 in the first half. And there were probably 2 or 3 balls that very likely could have been picked.
It looked like he was trying to throw an interception in the second half.
The one Mingo had, it would have been 6 the other way too. I think.
Yeah,
I don't think there was anybody near him. And that guy's a pretty good athlete for as big as he is. So, it's those are the kind of breaks you got to take advantage of if you're going to beat him and beat this team. And if you're not going to get those turnovers like that, and you're not going to convert out three or four times that they were in the red zone, you're not going to beat a lot of good teams.
Yeah, you're not going to be good teams kicking field goals.
Right.
Yeah, just because we have a guy who can kick field goals doesn't mean we need him to do it every single time. But we'll get more into the Bears-Saints preview later in the week. But let's get into it. Week 17 in the NFL. Unfortunately, the last regular season week. But it was an awesome day of football, which is still kind of going on right now. We're watching the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles in a game of a 6-9 team and a 4-10-1 team, and it means a lot because if the 6-9 team wins, they're in, and if they lose, that means the 6-9 Giants are in.
What a dumpster fire!
It's not all bad for the Bears. It's not all bad for the Bears. You know what I mean? We're not the worst playoff team in the NFC. So
we are 500. So that works.
Valid point. First game, we'll get to the Buffalo Bills secure the number 2 seed in the playoffs. The Miami Dolphins bounced from the playoffs. 56-26 victory for the Bills. That offense is just.
Did the Dolphins understand that they needed to win today?
They didn't play any. I mean, Tua threw for 360 yards, and they still. I mean, the defense literally did absolutely nothing. And I'm not saying it's Buffalo's offense is very, very, very good. But if your quarterback gives you 361 yards, I mean. Granted, he did throw 3 interceptions. They still scored 26 games. You're not going to be anybody giving up 56.
No, you will not. But it was one of those games. It's like, and Fitzpatrick wasn't there.
Yeah.
He tested positive for COVID.
Yeah, they brought in Tyler Huntley for a play even. So they didn't – oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong game. I thought that Miami brought in somebody. I could be wrong. Bowden. Lynn Bowden. Oh, I guess it was a running back they ran. So, yeah, you're right. They didn't have
Fitzpatrick was out. He was out.
Gotcha.
Ooh, I understand what you mean though, but he was always there for the offense. But like you said, they gave up.
Right, when they got into some trouble. I mean, Tua throwing 3 interceptions buried them. I mean, and then 56 points.
They were bad interceptions too. The first one was taken back for 6. The second one I think was close to or returned inside the 20. The third one was inside of his own 20, I believe. So
you never made it Flores. He could have pulled that trigger fast if he would have had Fitzpatrick, but obviously
one of those games you can't have if you're the Dolphins. You just can't.
Exactly. So the Dolphins will miss out on the playoffs after a good year, looking to rebuild for next year and get back to it. The Baltimore Ravens absolutely steamroll the Cincinnati Bengals to get into the playoffs. This is what is wild to me. The Ravens put up 38 points. Lamar Jackson threw for 113 yards. But J.K. Dobbins ran for 160. So, yeah, they're looking going into the playoffs. I don't know how much I trust them. They go to the Titans. So I'm not sure exactly what to expect out of the Ravens. But I think I like them more as a lower seed than I do as being the number 1 seed like they were last year.
You look at the Ravens the last 5 or 6 weeks, what more do you want them to do? That's all I'm going to say. Like, they've been quietly very, very good lately. And it's one of those teams, I think they have the talent and they kind of have the makeup that could give the Chiefs problems. I'm not saying they could beat the Chiefs or they're better than the Chiefs. They could make the Chiefs work for a win, though. I can guarantee you that.
Exactly. And like I said, like last year they were the 1 seed, right? Lamar was the MVP.
Yep.
All the expectations of the world riding on him. And now it's like you're low key, you're the 5 seed. You get to travel to Tennessee, who did not look great this week against a bad Houston team. You have that opportunity now to kind of come in and be the underdog and, show that what you've been doing the last couple of weeks is for real and, making it a legitimate possibility to do something if they can get past the Titans. Moving to the Steelers, they lose to the Browns. Obviously, they don't have Ben Roethlisberger. Closer game than expected, but the Browns are in the playoffs for the first time since, I believe, 2002, fellas.
You are correct on that. You are correct on that.
It's crazy.
Browns
awesome
are in the playoffs, and that's about
there
it.
Was a genuine
genuine
happiness though for their fans though, man. It's pure just
there.
I mean, it was you can see the joy on their faces how long they've been waiting for that.
Oh, absolutely. And here's what's cool about it is with that 7 seed, they turn around now. They get to play Pittsburgh again this week. So it'll be one of those. Obviously, Big Ben will be back. I think Pittsburgh showed that they were capable of staying in it even with the backup in. I think that's going to be a hell of a game. Maybe one of the better ones of the weekend. So it'll be interesting to see some AFC North teams battle it out, 7 days after playing each other. Moving to a game of who the hell cares. The Vikings beat the Lions. I'm going to go ahead and give the win to the Lions. That is the worst roughing the passer call I may have ever seen. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys saw that. That was probably one of the worst, if not the worst, roughing the passer. And like I said, Matthew Stafford's time in Detroit may be over, but literally a game of who the hell cares.
Should I take him in Chicago?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and even I had seen some chatter about, some Colts fans wanting him in Indianapolis if Phillip Rivers decides to step away. He's going to make an impact on a team that's going to go to the playoffs, I think. He's obviously a hell of a quarterback. His numbers have shown. And he doesn't
I think you might see Carson Wentz go to Indy just because of Frank Reich.
But. Yeah, that would make sense too. But either way, the Lions and Vikings season's over. You hate to see it.
Give me Stafford. Give me Stafford with this defense. That's fine. Let's do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't blame you at all. Stafford's we've said it, and statistically speaking, he's probably a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think he's still got gas in the tank. I mean, I give the guy all the credit in the world. He's taken nothing in Detroit, and he's played in one playoff game that they lost. I mean, poor guy. Get him a playoff appearance here. Last 10 years. Another game of who the hell cares? The Patriots beat the Jets 28-14. Adam Gase gone. Patriots obviously going to look to rebuild. I don't think they're going to have Cam Newton back next year. Either you guys think that Cam Newton will be a Patriot next year?
I don't know if Cam Newton will be in the NFL next year.
Yeah, especially a guy who has been kind of outspoken that he doesn't want to be a backup. It's like you're kind of running out of options, dude. You're not as good as you were, whatever it was 7, 8 years ago. So, but Patriots end the season on a win. We will not see the Patriots in the playoffs for the first time in a very long time. The Giants. Jason Garrett stealing the playoffs away from the Cowboys again, this time on the opposite sideline, though. The New York Giants take down the Cowboys 23-19. And we're just kind of waiting the results of tonight's game to see if the Giants will be in the playoffs. Who would have thought Joe Judge would have a shot at the playoffs in his first year in New York?
It's just an ugly game, though. This Eagles football team, Washington football team game is just ugly. Turnover after turnover, just not good football.
How does it feel to be like the Cardinals right now and know you're probably a better football team than anybody in that division, but they're going to get a home game and you're going to go play golf?
Weirdly enough, it used to be the division they were in for a long time.
Yeah,
when it was a three-division alignment.
Yeah, that is true. The Buccaneers get ready for the playoffs. They take down the Falcons 24-17. Tom Brady, 43 touchdowns this year at the age of 43. Unbelievable. I think we all kind of expected, obviously, them to be good. I don't know if I expected Tom Brady to have the efficiency that he's had this year. He's had a much better year than I was expecting personally. I don't know about you guys, but the Buccaneers are headed to the playoffs as the 5 seed in the AFC or the NFC. I'm sorry, and they will go to whoever wins the NFC East. You guys expecting a lot out of the Buccaneers in the playoffs, or?
Tom Brady in the playoffs, always a good thing, but not really.
Yeah.
They've got so many weapons. Hopefully
in the NFC Championship game? Probably not.
Hopefully Mike Evans isn't hurt for a long period of time.
Yeah, it's valid.
That would be huge. And we'll see what happens with the Falcons if they keep their interim coach. Can't remember, Matt, what's his name? Raheem Morris.
Raheem Morris, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see if the Falcons decide to stick with him. Obviously, they kind of got beat down today, but they've definitely had a change in the culture down there. At least it looks like. I don't know what goes on in the locker room. I don't pay close enough attention to the Falcons. In that same division, though, the Saints secure the 2 seed as they take down the Carolina Panthers 33-7. Carolina, just the whole game, it looked like they did not want to be there. It even looked at it from a coaching standpoint. They pulled Teddy Bridgewater, and I believe the third quarter they knew it was over. They didn't want Teddy getting hurt. But you guys will get the Saints this weekend. So what are your expectations out of the Saints come playoff time?
Hopefully they don't have Kamara. Hopefully they don't have Kamara. That's about it.
Pretty impressive win, though, out of the Saints for having Ty Montgomery, who I believe was on the practice squad, former Packer running back. I mean, he was the only running back they really had. Obviously, Taysom Hill kind of filled in the void there, but the Saints look a little primed up as we come to the playoffs. But we'll see from next week when they host the Bears. The Colts secure their position in the playoffs, 28-14. I wouldn't call it an overwhelming win against Jacksonville. It felt like the Jaguars were in the game the whole time, kind of slipped away a little bit late. But the Indianapolis Colts heading into the playoffs sitting at 11-5. I just don't know what to expect out of the Colts in the playoff. They're a team that I don't think they're going to beat the Bills, but it wouldn't surprise me if it is a close game and they have a shot to win late.
They're an 11-5 team, and it's like you don't really know what they are.
Yeah, it's the same team that beat the Packers but lost to the Jaguars in Week 1. Can't get a read on them. Cannot get a read on them. Another team I'm finding hard to get a read on lately. The Tennessee Titans hold off the Houston Texans 41-38 in just an absolute.
I'll give you a read on them. Their defense sucks.
Yeah, bad. And like we talked about, they get to host, one of the hottest teams in the AFC right now in the Baltimore Ravens. They better get that figured out quick. Now, granted, Baltimore doesn't throw the ball like they used to, and obviously, but that pass defense is bad.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good at all.
The Chargers, obviously the Chiefs were not really playing anybody, but the Chargers beat the Chiefs 38-21. It was like a touchdown game early, and it felt like the Chiefs just kind of wrapped it up, moved it in. They knew they had the 1 seed, didn't have to play for much, and I don't believe Patrick Mahomes played at all today. But 38-21 as the Chargers end the season at 7-9. Future looking good, though. I think Herbert's a good quarterback, and it'll be interesting to see if they can add some more pieces around. I think Austin Eckler's a serviceable running back. And then they got,
I think there's question as to whether Keenan Allen will be back, though. I'm not positive, but I believe there's some question about that.
They would be smart of them to try and keep. I think he's a key piece there, but
he's a really good player. That's for sure.
Absolutely. They need help. Their defense is not great, and their offensive line's pretty bad.
I think part of their problem so much as anything is their coach. I just don't think Anthony Lynn's a very good coach.
I think he's a good coordinator. He's a very average coach. Like he's the perfect coach for a 7-9 football team.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yep. And another game of who the hell cares. The Raiders beat the Broncos 32-31. Man, the Raiders, good God. I mean, you start off the season so strong and you're looking good. You're even in the playoff picture, and then it just all kind of falls apart the last 3 weeks of the year. This is what, year 2 or 3 of the Gruden – end of year 2 of the Gruden experiment.
I think it's 3.
So is this the end of year 3?
I believe it's 3. Pretty sure.
Either way, you got 7 or 6 seasons left, whatever it is. So far, no playoff games. Or no wins. They might have played in one playoff game, but I could be wrong. The game you guys needed, kind of a boring game of 2 quarterbacks no one's ever heard of. The Rams beat the Cardinals 18-17. Who I can't even. Stervler was in at quarterback for a while for Kyler Murray.
Never heard of him.
And John Wolford, I'll give him. He threw for 230 yards. He had a huge run to pick up a first down. He had 56 rushing yards. He led the Rams in rushing yards. And he just kind of added a spark when he needed. Me and Zach were watching the play, and he just squares up a defensive back and just tries to run him over for like a 3rd and 13. And I'm like, you know what? He's doing what he needs to do for a guy that was playing in the AAF last year.
Gardner Minshew without the trendy mustache.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good. I like that. How do you guys? If Goff will be back for the Rams, they host the Seahawks. Do you guys like the Rams in the playoffs at all?
Yes, just because the Seahawks just have not been looking the greatest.
Yep. Well, and also let's not forget that the Rams defense is damn good.
Yeah,
it's very good. It's very
People do forget that. That's why they were in the game today.
I mean, now granted, they were playing against a backup quarterback for most of the game. They only gave up 7 points.
Yeah, Seattle's recent struggles offensively are really well documented, and with cornerbacks like the Rams have, they're going to give Lockett and Metcalf fits. So when you're already going to take away the 2 biggest weapons that a struggling offense has, you can't feel really good about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And if they get Goff back, and I'm not saying Goff is a world beater of a quarterback, but he's not bad.
He's middle of the road. I'd say he's a middle of the road quarterback. If he's got a good defense, he can win you some games.
Absolutely. Speaking of those Seahawks, they come from behind and beat the 49ers 26-13. I understand that Russell Wilson is a very, very good quarterback. He's top 5 all day, every day. But everybody talks about early in the season, Russell Wilson's never received an MVP vote. Russell Wilson this, but he's, to me, other than the Super Bowl year, which he did get snubbed on some MVP votes that year, but he just doesn't seem to put a consistent 16 games together very often. And I could be wrong about this. Tell me if I'm wrong. But I don't know, guy. He just doesn't seem like a 16-game full season, like, holy crap, he's putting up, world-beating numbers. He'll do that for 8 or 9 games. And then he kind of comes back to the pack, or falls even farther behind. He's just not consistently there.
Boomy, I normally have no problem telling you if I think you're wrong, but I don't think you're necessarily wrong here. So it's one of those. He does. He goes through these stretches. Like, he was the best player in the world for the first 6-7 weeks. He was like kind of the unanimous MVP, and then that talk just completely disappeared.
And it seems like it's always one game that triggers it. Like, he'll have one game where he'll throw for like 119 yards.
Such a weird team too, though, because their defense was so bad when the offense was good this year, and then the roles just flipped.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked about inconsistent teams and teams you can't get a read on. Seattle, like I said, you wouldn't be horribly surprised if Seattle ends up in the NFC Championship, but you also wouldn't be surprised if they lose, this coming weekend to the Rams. I don't get it. We'll go through. Let me run through it real quick. The first round matchups, we'll obviously dig deeper into them this weekend before I kick it back to Zach. The wild card weekend in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills will host the 7-seed Indianapolis Colts. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the 3 seed. They will host the 6-seed Cleveland Browns. Tennessee gets the 4 seed. They will host the number 5 Baltimore Ravens. The Chiefs get the first round bye in the AFC. Moving to the NFC, the 2 seed Saints host the 7 seed Bears. 3 seed Seahawks host the 6 seed Rams. And it's either going to be the Washington football team or the New York Giants at the 4 seed hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Packers get the bye in that wild card weekend. So that was NFL Week 17 / playoff look ahead.
Let's move on. We got the Bulls. They beat the Mavericks. They beat them 118 to 108. No Luka Doncic for the Mavericks. The Bulls were without Lauri Markkanen, Thomas Satoransky, and Taylor Hutchinson.
Pretty even, if you ask me.
Yeah. It all equals out.
I don't know really what to think with this Bulls team this year. But like Boomy has kind of told me, just let it play out. We got to let it play out, see what happens through a longer part of the season.
I really don't want to do this again. I got to agree with Boomy again.
Guys, the best part of it is, and I know the Bulls are going to be this all year, and I've said it early, I've said it often. They're going to have to score 120 and 130, between 120 and 130 to win games. Was very
not
close to
it. Not a good defensive team.
No, not at all. If you accept that early, you're setting yourself up for success. But the best thing to see is Billy Donovan actually teaching the game of professional basketball to guys like Kobe White, to guys like Wendell Carter, to Patrick Williams, who are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. He was actually something happened to Kobe, and he pulled him to the side and explained to him instead of just yelling at him or not talking to him like we've seen in the past.
Give him the freedom to make a mistake. Give him the freedom to play the game. Give him the freedom to grow. At some point you just gotta throw him out there.
Yeah,
it's basketball. The game is the game. These guys know what. Come on.
When the
Bulls can't overthink things.
If anything, this season it seems like they're having fun.
Yes,
it doesn't feel like they like being out there. They seem like they respect the coach. They're willing to listen to what the coach says. So, like I said, just got to let it build and see how it's going halfway through the year.
Yeah, exactly.
I would agree.
They're going to be around 500 maybe, until they, they're probably not going to the playoffs, but let's see, growth. And I don't think they're going to be giving up 120 to 130 in those years in the future when we're expecting them to contend for higher seeds in the Eastern Conference.
I agree with you.
Hope not. Knock on wood.
Yeah, let's hope that 4 or 5 years from now, we will have a consistently contending team.
Yes.
I hope. Let me take that back. 2 years.
Yeah, I think that's realistic.
Is that reasonable, boys? 2 years?
I think so.
Yeah, I would say.
Okay, good. College football playoffs. We had Notre Dame losing to Alabama. Not surprising. Never really a close game. But the game that was a surprise, Clemson loses to Ohio State. You just really haven't seen much from Ohio State. They had some trouble with Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game, but they beat Clemson. Dabo Swinney, who said they were ranked 11th.
That was clearly
Alabama.
Weaponized. That was clearly weaponized. Don't sell that one short. They put that as big on the bulletin board as they possibly could, and God bless them for doing it, because you can't do that if you're a head coach. You just can't do it.
You don't want to give bulletin board material, and that's exactly what he did. And Ohio State just cranked. And you could even tell late, because they were throwing bombs when they were up like 24.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did not care, and Ohio State took it to them, man. It's
what Ryan Day likes to do. Ryan Day likes to stomp it on you when he can. Let's not.
Yes, he does.
So it's going to be Ohio State, Alabama. I wonder, Alabama's going to be.
Yeah, I saw 7.5, which is the same line as Clemson, which tells you how far out of whack that was. You know.
That is true. Because what was the Clemson one?
It was 7, and I got it at 7.5.
And then Alabama was 14.
20, it was anywhere from
20?
18.5 to 21 against Notre Dame.
Yeah, it was. I got it at 20, and obviously Notre Dame backdoor cover.
So this will be a week from today, right?
Yep.
The college football playoff championship game, Alabama, Ohio State. We'll talk more about that next week or on Monday's show. Boomy, do you have a wacky web story for us?
I sure do, and it's actually a heartwarming story. Start the week off on a good foot. But a homeless man has rescued every single animal from a burning animal shelter. This happened, I believe, in Atlanta. This place called W Underdogs Shelter had gone up in flames, and a man named Keith Walker was taking his pit bull for a walk near the shelter where he lives, and noticed that the animal shelter near it was on fire. Didn't waste a second, jumped into action, ran into the shelter and freed it was 6 dogs and 9 or 10 cats from the burning building. They said that, he didn't hesitate, saw this place up in flames, ran right in, got all the animals out, and obviously for someone who's kind of down on their luck, hopefully they can do something for this guy. But yeah, absolutely, that's the kind of stuff you love to see on a Monday morning.
It's like right out of a movie.
Absolutely, and him taking his dog out for a walk, and he just kind of jumps right into action. And they said it wasn't just like smoking. This place was engulfed in flames. The whole shelter burned down. So this wasn't like a little, like the stove is on fire. Like we're talking like the walls are on fire. And he got all out. So shout out to Keith Walker. Good on him.
For sure.
That is a wacky web story, Boomy.
Yeah.
You got anything post-show? Nothing. Bears playoffs on Sunday versus Saints. That's all that matters right now. And the Bulls are also playing. But
Adam Gase got fired. That's kind of funny.
Didn't see that one coming.
Not surprising. Not
I
surprising
can't believe it
at
took
all. But
did not see that one coming.
Yeah, for real. Now we can turn our attention to the important stuff. The Georgia Senate seat runoff election this coming week.
Zero interest in talking about that right now. But what about the rumors about Urban Meyer possibly with Jacksonville? What's your take there?
I've also seen Pat Fitzgerald.
I don't think he's an NFL coach.
No.
No, but he's willing to interview.
It's like taking Jeff Monken out of Army and putting him in the NFL. Jeff Monken should be the Army coach until the end of time.
Yes, absolutely. I see what you're saying. Urban Meyer's also never coached in the NFL. So I don't know. I don't hate it, but it's always a little extra dangerous to me when those college guys make that leap, because yeah, we've seen successes in the past. We've seen, Pete Carroll had the success in Seattle, but, we've also seen how many guys just flame out. I mean, Pete Carroll made this first jump, I believe, back in the 90s, and that did not go well.
The other talk was if Urban Meyer didn't take it, that it could be Ryan Day's job, and then would he take Justin Fields?
Yeah,
first overall to be, so they could continue what they've been doing at Ohio State. Which,
like in theory, that's great. I just don't know in practice if that ever works out.
I agree with you completely. I don't think I would do it. I don't think I would bring Ryan Day just to even entertain that thought. I just wouldn't even want that in the hemisphere because it's pretty unanimous. Trevor Lawrence is one of the most, decorated college quarterbacks and highly thought of prospects coming out of the college game into the NFL. So I don't think you can blow that.
Even if Justin Fields has a good NFL career, you don't want to take that risk of being like, well, we passed up Trevor Lawrence because we brought Justin Fields' college coach in.
Right.
And, if Trevor Lawrence goes on to become, what he's supposed to be or what people, expect him to be, you don't want to have that, attached to your franchise. So it'll be interesting to see how some of those hirings get dealt out here in the next couple
Black Monday tomorrow.
That is true. One other thing I did want to bring up, kind of more local news, NIU has moved on in their men's coaching program. They have relieved Coach Mike Montgomery of his duties. They lost yesterday to Bowling Green, start the season off 1-7. Kind of a tough spot. They're not good right now, but at the same time, they won the MAC West last year. They just graduated the leading scorer of all time in school history. I kind of understand where the athletic department is coming from. They haven't been super successful over the last 10 years. But on a personal side, I worked with the women's team when Coach Montgomery got hired at NIU, and he was always nice to me, so I don't have anything bad to say about him. He was always cordial to me and, would sit and talk if I caught him in the hallway. But yeah, NIU will be looking for a men's basketball coach here at the end of the season. So kind of conflicting news on my end.
But thank you to Boomy at Boomy TCF and Matt Schoolfield at Schools_01 for joining me this morning. I am Zach Lilia at Lilia TCF, the main page, at typical_Chicago, Instagram, Facebook. Just type in Typical Chicago Fans. Follow us on there. Go over to the YouTube page. Subscribe to the YouTube page, Typical Chicago Fans, wherever you get your podcast from. Apple. If it's Apple, please subscribe, rate, and review. If it's anywhere else, just type in Typical Chicago Fans. You will find us on there. Shout out to 26shirts.com Chicago. Use the promo code Typical Chicago Fans at checkout for 15% off of your purchase. Again, that is Typical Chicago Fans at checkout for 15% off of your purchase at 26shirts.com Chicago. This has been the TCF Morning Show, Monday, January 4th. We love you all.
Peace.